On the last occasion, the committee directed that the member from St. Andrew Southeast, the member from St. Andrew East Central, be asked back before the committee to provide some clarification. It is indicated on page 4 of the minutes, which says that the committee recommended that it report to the House that the accuracy of information provided to the committee by one member has been called into question in light of information subsequently made public. The committee further recommended that it deliberate on whether this has any impact on the decision taken by the House to grant an exemption to the member. The committee also recommended that it hear from the member directly and in accordance with the standing orders, require the member to appear at its next sitting to provide clarification. Now, Member Hilton, in response to my opening comments, you rightly pointed out the importance of procedural fairness. And it was in keeping with that need for procedural fairness why the recommendation was made to invite back the member to provide some clarification before any recommendation is made on the matter. Might I ask the committee clerk to just inform the committee on that communication between the committee and the member? I think the committee was informed that a letter was sent to the member, and it was date of the letter. All right, while we await the details, a letter was sent to the member, and I'm informed that the member has indicated that he will not appear before the committee. Yes? Yes. I believe that is most unfortunate. And I would like to hear from members. April 15, letter was sent to the member on April 15, and his response came on even date. Don't run off, Member Hilton. Okay. The correspondence of, bring it up, please. Bring it back up. So the letter that was sent to the member indicated that the Ethics Committee of Parliament convened a meeting on April 8, 2026, at which it considered matters relating to clarification regarding the response provided in relation to the exemption motion brought on behalf of the Member of Parliament for St. Andrew East Central, together with information that has entered the public domain subsequent to the disclosure of interests provided to the committee at its meeting held on February 4, 2026. In light of this development, questions have arisen as to the accuracy of information previously provided by the committee. Consequently, the committee requests your presence at its next meeting, scheduled for Tuesday, April 21, 2026 at 10 a.m. to provide clarification on the information previously submitted. Should you have any queries or require further clarification, contact could be made with the committee clerk. The response came, good day, be advised that I will not attend any such sitting. This is overreaching the committee's mandate. It has no jurisdiction or authority to summon me without an express referral from the full Parliament.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just heard the response, but I wanted to find out. Again, we know that we're entering new territory. I wanted to know if a member of Parliament, of the Houses of Parliament, who soar into the Parliament, if they can refuse to appear before the ethics committee, and wanted to also find out about other jurisdiction. I mean, if that can happen or should happen.
To be clear, the committee does not grant an exemption motion. The committee considers the resolutions that are sent from the House. The committee speaks with the members in question, and based on the information provided to the committee by those members, the committee makes a recommendation to the House, and the House then grants the exemption or not. So it has to be made abundantly clear that the committee does not grant, but the committee recommends. The way the Parliament has worked in the several terms that I have been here is that invariably the recommendations of the committee are acted on, and the matters are never usually debated. Right. The matter in question for which the committee has requested the attendance of the member in question was a matter that was raised on the consideration of his exemption motion. The ethical issue is not so much about what is happening in accounts, but is in relation to the truthfulness of answers provided to the committee, which then grounded the recommendation of the committee to the House. So again, it requires sensitivity, it requires fairness, it requires some reflection. This committee will have to consider, in addition to all of the other issues that may arise out of this single matter, whether it is ethical and appropriate for a member to refuse to attend before the committee to provide clarification, because there are rules which protect anyone providing responses to any committee. And just to say that that response, which was read from the member, does not sit well with me as chair of this committee or as a member of the House. And this is not about witch hunting anyone. It's not about pointing finger at anyone. It's not about trying to, it just does not sit well with me. Member Hilton.
Madam Chair, I think the issue is a bit more stark than you have presented it just now, because the member, a request was made, a summon, in other words, sent to the member. The member, no doubt having reflected on all of the matters related to this that are not only confined to this committee, but elsewhere, as indicated that the committee, it is his advice or opinion that the committee lacks jurisdiction. That's a fundamental question. That question for this committee cannot proceed beyond that without getting legal opinion and clarification on this matter. This is not simply whether this is a nice to have or whether it would have been appropriate and good for the member to appear. The question the member is challenging the jurisdiction. He's saying that this is functus officio. The committee has no jurisdiction, having deliberated on the matter, send it to the House having both the House and the Senate having passed the motion to then ask member to come back. So I am saying that the issue that, as I see it, is not simply whether it would be appropriate for him to come. The question is whether the committee has jurisdiction in the matter. And let me say, as is the responsibility of the House leaders, both the leader of the House and the leader of opposition business. The leader of opposition business has sought and obtained the opinion of the House Counsel on this matter. And I think before we proceed, we may be well advised to have reference to that opinion.
Well, again, you see, so if we are concerned with propriety, then we also have to consider propriety in all aspects. I appreciate that it is a proper issue that has arisen as to whether the matter should be revisited. I understand that it properly arises. But like I said, it's not the question as to whether a member whose conduct is under consideration, whether that member has spoken truthfully, is definitely a matter for the committee, to my mind. Just a minute. I appreciate that the issue has many different parts, and so there may be uncertainty about which part and to what extent. I appreciate that. But the letter that was sent to the member was also very clear, because if you speak, it's seeking clarification on response given. We can't be called upon to deal with ethical issues and we're going to turn our eyes if matters arise, you know. It places us in a dilemma. But suffice it to say, the immediate issue that has arisen now is whether a member can refuse with impunity to appear before the committee. That is one of the many issues. I heard you made reference to advice that was sought from the, it's from the council to the parliament? Yes, and that it was sought by the member of opposition business. And that is how it is being introduced into the committee now. Well, I have not seen it. I was not aware of it. The member has not stated it in his response. And again, it brings into question the how of it. I see it. Yes.
The fundamental issue for any committee has first to rest on its jurisdiction to address the matter. You fully appreciate the question of the jurisdiction of a committee or entity or anyone to address formally a matter before it. The member has responded to an invitation or a request or summon, however you term it, and he has placed squarely on the agenda the matter of jurisdiction. Is the matter functus officio, or does the committee get to have a second chance at questioning?
And so the question is, does the member come and raise that issue with the committee, or he just raises it in passing and let it be?
He raises it as an official response.
Is it procedurally correct, meaning that, so if you are doing the equivalent of an in limine point, usually let's by analogy look at what may happen in another branch of government, and jurisdiction is, issue is taken with the jurisdiction of the forum to deal with the matter. does it require the person coming in limine, preliminarily, before you go in, to then raise the matter so that that issue can be deliberated on? Please consider it. Right. So which is what? Just hear me out.
Yeah.
Because if a preliminary issue arises in respect of jurisdiction, you would have to deal with that issue before you deal with the merit of the matter for which the person is to appear before. So the question now is whether the member can properly take that issue without coming in or be represented. Now, as counsel, do you appreciate that point?
No, Madam Speaker.
I'm asking whether you appreciate it.
I do, but not in the sense that you have. Here's what I appreciate. Analogies, we have to be careful of analogies.
What is the analogy that you're raising?
No, please. But my point is that having spent the first period of this morning talking about the deficiencies and the need for caution and all of that, we come now to in a situation where we want to assert certainty. And I am saying, in a situation where the jurisdiction of the committee is called into question, we cannot make up rules and apply them retroactively. They have to be the rules have to be established and applied prospectively.
So, counsel, council member, just to say that different members come with different skill sets. And so for some members, some things may be unclear. For others, they may be a little clearer. I am not seeking to bring any certainty. I am raising the issue as to whether the member can properly refuse to come to raise any issue that he can. That is what I am raising for the committee. Now, as a committee, you can tell me whether it is a valid issue or not. We don't come to the merits of the matter that he would have a concern with. And I appreciate the concern, don't get me wrong, because I don't know that it has ever arisen. Right. So even for that point alone, but I would want to consider whether it is proper for the member to refuse to come before the committee, or whether the member should come before the committee and raise his point. And that has to be considered without partisanship. It has to be considered in principle.
All right, Madam Speaker, let me say this. My first duty would be to reflect on the standing order itself. What, if anything, has the standing order said about this matter? No. Having looked at the standing order, I want to invite you to consider Standing Order 77-7. Standing Order 77-7. And it reads, the deliberation of a select committee shall be confined to the matter referred to it by the House, and any extension or limitation thereof made by the House, and in the case of a select committee on a bill, to the bill committed to it and relevant amendments. Now, the provision, admittedly, is not as definitive as I would have liked. However, it calls us to be cautioned that there are limitations around the work of committees.
Absolutely.
And I'm saying the member has asserted what he believes is his right, which is jurisdictional. Remembering again that this is a constitutionally founded matter. And so I am simply saying that if you're raising the issue, well, it would have been nice to have the members before us. If that's the issue.
That's the point.
Well, fine, I'm saying if that's the issue, I'm saying that is a matter for us to reflect on going forward in terms of the amendments that we have lined up that we must make to fill the gaps that we now know don't exist. So I'm saying to you, Madam Speaker, if a member asserts his right, then I believe we have to pay due regard to that, because our committees are not all powerful. They are specific, they are limited to the mandates that are given to them, and we can't do things because it's nice and it will be appropriate if that is how the member chooses to exercise his right. So I rest and to say the issue that we have to now address, the hurdle that we have to overcome, is the jurisdictional issue.
All right. This is an issue that is signaling the test that will come to the work of this committee and our capacity to handle controversial matters, because we don't even get to complex matters yet. So this is a good indication of what is to come. Here is what I suggest. I still believe that it is not proper for a member who has been summoned to refuse to come before the committee. I don't believe it's proper. But you are correct that the matter is not as simple as it appears. And I take no issue with the question being raised as to whether the committee has jurisdiction. But I think there is an assumption that it is a decision of the committee in respect of the motion. There is a distinction. It relates to the information provided to the committee. The committee doesn't make the decision on the granting of the motion. It makes a recommendation on it, and that recommendation. So one of the issues is, if a recommendation was made by the committee based on information provided to it, and it turns out that the information is correct, what is the power of the committee to deal with it? That's a proper issue, and these are issues that we are going to deliberate on. But here is what I'm thinking, members, that perhaps we should consider this issue. It could be considered in camera at a next sitting, perhaps. We will reissue the invitation to the member to come back, and any issue that is being taken with the jurisdiction of the committee to seek clarification on the information he provided to the committee, which informed a recommendation, could be dealt with in camera preliminarily. And then we see what that yields. And any advice on the matter can be looked at in the time being. But the provision of no conclusion can be made as to whether the member has spoken inaccurately without hearing back from the member. That is a procedural fairness. Now, if the member chooses not to say anything, inferences can be drawn. He has a right, he has rights. The rights that are guaranteed rights, and the consequences flow. But I just say that it doesn't sit well with me that a member would refuse to come before the committee, especially when the member asserts valid concerns. And I think that an avenue will have to be created for those valid concerns to be raised and determined, but it's not going to just disappear. Member Whittle?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I want to support your opinion in relation to the fact that, for me, it doesn't look good for a member to say, you're not appearing before the committee. But as we seek to understand and find clarification, in the member's response, he would have suggested, I would say, a pathway in respect of how he think that he would come to give the clarification that we seek. And he mentioned that the committee does not, in his opinion, have the power to call him in to attend. But he referred to the parliament. So I think in our deliberation in seeking to find a way, I think we need to look at whether or not we could take that avenue that he suggests in his response.
Thank you, Member Whittle. So I just looked back on it. He says the committee has no jurisdiction to recall without referral from the full parliament. Right. So,
so we seek
yes,
to find whether we can get
on further consideration, the consideration of an exemption motion is the only matter from which a resolution of the House is required. Right. Good point.
Yes.
It doesn't change my stance that it doesn't sit well with me that he hasn't come. So it then leaves us to say, no, should this committee then refer the matter to the House, report to the House to say whether the House would wish for the committee to reconsider the matter. That is one option. Because that is the essence of his point, exactly. Having reread it, exactly. That it would require referral from the full House in order for the committee to have jurisdiction. That's the point.
Yeah.
Madam Chair.
Just a minute, Member Hilton.
And I think, Madam Chair, from the last meeting after we were deliberating all the different issues that arose regarding the committee and what we can or cannot do, I think it was stated that we would possibly have to refer the matter back to the House to make a decision as to how to proceed. So I'm also in agreement with that. If it is that we're now trying to make sure that we are on the right path with this committee and to do the right thing, then I think we should then follow those principles, those rules, to refer it back to the House. Because again, I was at the first meeting, and with this statement, it doesn't sit well with me as a lawmaker when another lawmaker can make such a statement to say, I am not going to present myself at the ethics committee because you have no such jurisdiction. I take great issue with that.
Member Nita, you want to? Right.
Madam Chair, while we are eager to settle matters that are before us, and all of us here, in the interest of the people and governance, good governance, would want to ensure that we do whatever it takes to get to a place where the public and this House can be on the right side of the law. There are also the matters relating to the rights, fundamental rights of individual members who sit in this House. And if there is going to be some trampling of my rights as a member, I believe that it is within my own personal right to indicate that I am not being treated fairly. There could have been from this committee a clear request as to how we should proceed prior to summoning the member back here in an effort to make sure that we're protecting him as well as this House and this committee. So having done his due diligence, it would seem, he indicates that it is within his right not to appear and therefore has indicated what is to be the route, if there should be any, to get him back to this place. The House, having received an approval from us, went ahead as an entire House to approve. And that motion now would have to be a new motion before the House to be able to revisit this matter. I don't think we need to stress on whether or not the member was out of order or improper, because the truth is, whether or not we believe that he was a little feisty in not responding positively to the chairman of the ethics committee to come and sit before us today, the fact is that he exercised his right. And I have to respect that right of any member in this House. And I think that's where we are.
Thank you, Member Nita Garvey. Member Hilton?
Madam Speaker, I want to, yes, Madam Chair.
You're giving me a different role.
Madam Chair, let me, again, hopefully in an act of sobriety, let me say this. First of all, the issue is not about whether the member should come before the House. The issue is a recall of the member. The member has been before this committee. There are questions. The issue is, and the member puts it squarely, and we can't move beyond that.
Sound like you're the one who advised him.
That's wrong speculation. Wrong speculation. Wrong speculation. Wrong speculation. Wrong speculation. And that's not allowed, Madam Chair.
What's not allowed for someone to get legal advice? Of course that's allowed. Come on.
No,
I make no accusation. I raised a question, right? And there is nothing improper about anyone seeking legal advice. I said it sound like. Continue, Member Hilton. We have to bring the meeting to an end soon because another committee is set to meet.
I hope that was just a moment of levity. But let me say, Madam Speaker, in all seriousness, we are well advised, and I made a point earlier. The member is not being frivolous.
Understood.
And we are proceeding, and we said earlier that we need to do so cautiously.
And the matter has major consequences.
Indeed. And there are risks.
Yes. All right. In the interest of time,
please,
Member Hilton, I think you're merely restating your point. I don't think it has been changed, just in the interest of time. So the question that has arisen is whether the committee...
Yes, I have another point.
Yes.
I wanted to put squarely for the consideration. The legal counsel, the counsel to the House, has opined on the matter, and I've said we may be well advised.
We'll come to that. We'll come to that.
Okay.
Yes, we'll come to that. But the question for the committee is, firstly, whether the committee is to report to the House on the matter. That's the first question. And what that report should be in light of what the member's response was. Because, we are trying to find a way forward. And we're trying to find a way forward, perhaps in uncharted waters, in a path not previously taken. So what we know of a fact is that the committee wrote to the member requesting his presence his reappearance before the committee to provide clarification, and the member has responded, has taken issue with the jurisdiction of the committee to do so, indicating that it would require a referral from the full parliament. And so the committee would naturally have to seek the guidance of the parliament on how to proceed. So I think that is as far as we can go at this time. It would be to report to the House that the member from East Central whose resolution was considered and exemption granted was asked to reappear before the committee to provide clarification on responses he provided, which informed the recommendation. And he has taken issue with the jurisdiction of the committee to bring him back without a referral from the House, and therefore the committee would be seeking the guidance of the House.
I think Member Elton asked, but I'm not sure if it is that you would want to include the findings in that report of the legal counsel and what hasn't been placed before us properly.
Right,
right. Okay.
right. So we would have to take it in stages because
Because it would be good to be able to have that
Absolutely.
balance.
And that I would suspect that this report to the House would have to be debated, and then that issue could formally be placed before it, that the member of what Member Hilton said has received some advice from the Legislative Council, and that should be considered by the House in terms of any guidance that is provided to the committee.
Madam Chair, may I suggest if the Legislative Council, because in reading the minutes, the matter did come up about seeking legal advice. In fact, my recollection is that you, in your response as chairman, thought it would not be appropriate to seek legal advice at that juncture, stating that this is a factual issue and doesn't need legal advice. Madam Speaker, I am cautioning
No, member,
that you may well want to be, this committee may well want to have reference to the advice of the Legislative Council as a part of this House and as part of this committee before we report on it. And contemplate what the recommendations of that. That's my advice.
all right. I'm not sure. We're saying many things. So there was some misunderstanding as to my mind as to whether the committee was seeking to revisit the decision of the exemption. The committee does not grant an exemption, and the committee was not granting the exemption. All right? Right. So that the question at the time was whether the information provided by the member required clarification in light of what had subsequently appeared in the public domain. That was the issue. Today, we are considering squarely the matter of the jurisdiction of the committee to invite back a member who appeared for consideration of the resolution to exempt him. And that resolution was already, the recommendation was made to the House, and the House acted on it. I take no issue, in spite of my views on the matter, with the question of jurisdiction to be determined. What I am saying is that the member has said in his response that the committee does not have the jurisdiction to deal with the matter. It would require, without a full resolution, referral from the House. And that is the matter that we're going back to report to the House on. You're taking issue with that?
No.
Okay.
May I have my, yeah. No, I'm not taking issue with that.
Yes.
I am simply saying, in addition to that,
Yes.
the issue, as I read the minutes
Yes.
of the previous meeting,
Yes.
the discussion was a rich discussion, including
Yes.
the question of whether legal advice needed to be sought.
Yes.
It was your judgment
Yes.
and your opinion that
Yes.
no, it was not appropriate.
No, I said I didn't need the advice. Yes.
But what about the committee?
Yes.
It's not about you, Madam Chair.
Member,
It cannot be about you, Madam Chair. It's about
we are
the committee
reconsidering
member.
the matter.
It's
not closed. I'm not.
Please.
I'm not taking issue with what you're saying. You know, we're not on a different page.
No. But I want to be very clear. That clarity
We have
is
to bring the
important.
meeting to
Yes,
an
but
end.
clarity is important. And the single issue I
Yes.
come back to, and I came back to it purposefully, is the issue of the opinion, the council, legislative council's opinion, and its standing in this committee, where committee members in the previous committee meeting have been querying whether it would not be appropriate to get legal advice. You
Yes,
exercise,
remember
you exercise
minutes reflected.
your chairman's right, but I'm saying it is to the committee, and the committee wants to know the answer to that question, and it not be
But Member Hilton,
not be
but I'm not
guillotined,
taking
not be
issue with
guillotined.
that.
No, so why is
But
that
I'm not
included?
taking issue with that.
So
I don't
what-
understand.
So what is the decision in respect of that?
I am clarifying for you that at the time when the issue of the advice arose, what my position was on it. Right. And I have clarified that. No matter is standing in cement. We are trying to find an appropriate way forward. We have deliberated on the matter. We have reflected on the matter. Where I am now is not where I was last week on the matter. I said that from the deliberations of the committee, a proper issue has arisen as to the jurisdiction of the committee to recall the member who was brought before the committee on a resolution that was sent from the House. And so the question is whether a resolution from the House would be required to bring him back. We are not in dispute on that, because at the end of the day, that is the essence of what I understood. What you're now seeking to do is for matters that you have you're privy to be brought before the committee at this stage. And I'm saying to you that it will come in due course, because if we are to respond to the response of the member, it would require a report to the House, and that report to the House would be deliberated on, and all of the matters that you're seeking to have introduced can be introduced and brought back before the committee. That is all I am saying.
I think that is clear. I think that is clear.
So if you take issue with that, then take issue with that. But I also have to respect the time that we're up on, because another committee is to meet. So we can pause on the issue or we can proceed, because it's not going to be brought to an end at this stage. Right now, it is a question of the jurisdiction of the committee to recall the member without a referral from the House, in light of what he has said. And you have said that he was quite correct in his response to the committee. So you can't blow hot and cold,
Exactly.
because you can't in one breath said that his response is a proper response, and I am now seeking to act on his response, and you're trying to stop me. Now let me put something to the committee. We don't get into hot issues yet. So is it the committee's recommendation that we report to the House that the member whose resolution was considered was invited back, and he has taken issue with the jurisdiction of the committee to invite him back without a full referral from the House? Yes?
Yes.
Let me hear you. Member Witter? Yes? Member
Yes.
Cuthbert Flynn? Member? Members? Perkis? Yes? Very well. Member Hilton? All right, Member Garvey. So then, so sales. All right. So on this note, Member Hilton, in the interest of time, yes, My goodness, you can't blow hot and cold at the same time. You have invited me to consider judiciously the response of the member and act on it. And I've done so, and now you're taking issue with my considering what you have asked me to consider. Member Hilton. Member Hilton. All right, I think this is as far as we can go today. You can't blow hot and cold at the same time. All right. Very well. So the action step is clear. We will prepare the report to the House on this single matter at this stage. All right. Date and time of any other business? Date and time of the next meeting?
I had it as May 26th.
No, earlier, yes.
I'm not too sure if I can guarantee you. Wednesday. Wednesday? Yes.
We're considering a Wednesday for the next meeting.
Let me check something. It's May the 6th.
May 6th is being proposed for the next meeting, Wednesday, May 6th.
And the time?
Huh?
What time?
Of course,
The time that you want is
10 a.m.
or 2 p.m.
10 a.m., 2 p.m. It's full, so we have to go over. Member,
Just for clarity, is it the single issue of the referral to the House? Is that the single issue we are recommending at this point to the House? Would we not be advised, given its centrality, because the rest of the work for us in this committee is to look at how we fill the gaps in this committee?
we need further information on that. Committee
Okay.
member, we have all agreed on it. It's now 12:19.
Okay.
Please.
Wednesdays, I mean, we have indicated, no, I'm just simply saying, on a Tuesday, prior to Parliament, 1 week is CDF, 1 week is the other one, we take the next week. So that people coming in from Hanover and other places can be here and properly serve on a day when we're already convening. It's really difficult. Wednesday is already my constituency day, and I really hold firm to my constituency day. No, I go from early so that I can do the dead yard and I can do office and I can do the whole 9 yards. But there's just a grave digging, right? And it's always on a Wednesday. So, Madam Chair, I don't know. I know we have committee meetings on a Tuesday, but can we structure them so that a particular Tuesday can be for the ethics committee?
I appreciate the difficulty, but you can also appreciate it's not a decision we can take in isolation. And it is, I appreciate, remember,
It's
I
just
also have an out of town
No, what I'm saying is that
constituency.
it's structure,
But the
Madam
work,
Chair.
I don't believe that with all of the committees, everything can be done on a Tuesday. But as far as is possible, I am open to it.
Right, so I'm
Right.
saying, but if we
But we
structure,
can't stretch it out so long and far that the work doesn't get done.
not so long and far, but I think
Council, in-
2 weeks.
Member, in
I'll
the
take
interest of
counsel.
y'all.
Consider when it is that week, even if it's the following week. I don't think it will be too late. The next Tuesday in May. Please.
Member Nita, all right, it's gone. We'll have to set a date. We will not, The way the schedule is, we will have to do some Wednesdays. One may not kill you in the same way that, so not to make it all Wednesdays, but